You should have stayed quiet. This won't end well for you. That was the text I got the night I exposed my best friend, who also happened to be my sister, for stealing our startup, rewriting our history, and trying to erase my name from everything we built together. Hi, I'm Everly, and I co-signed a $10 million loan to help launch the company, only to watch her take full credit and lock me out of the story. Legally, publicly, and emotionally. But I didn't stay silent. I documented. I built. And when the time came, I pulled every receipt she hoped I'd forgotten. What would you do if someone you trusted turned you into a ghost in your own success story? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because trust, once broken, doesn't just hurt. It teaches. Here's how it all began. Funny how the stroke of a pen can turn blood into liability. I still remember the weight of that pen, the soft click, the cold grip, the hesitation just before I signed. Back then, Mila had looked me in the eye across that overpriced cafe table and whispered, "There wouldn't be a Kitsune without you." She said it like it was sacred. She said it like I mattered. That pen inked my name onto a $10 million co-loan agreement. I didn't just back her. I tethered my financial future to her dreams. And now, 1 year later, she'd cut me out of the story like I was a typo. The irony? I still had the original file. That evening, after Unia went to bed, her math worksheet half finished and her backpack already slumped at the front door, I opened the folder I hadn't touched in months. Kitsune_capital_2022. It was labeled. I remembered organizing it meticulously. Contracts, investor decks, spreadsheets, everything we built together. But this time, I didn't look at the numbers. I looked for my name. It wasn't in the articles. I'd seen the TechCrunch piece earlier that day. How Mila Halston built a startup from nothing. From nothing, apparently, included $10 million I guaranteed. It included a pitch deck I bled over. It included nights she called me in tears, doubting herself, and I'd stay up recalculating forecasts until the sun came up.
But now?
My name wasn't in the byline. Not in the founder story. Not even a casual special thanks. I kept scrolling. Crunchbase.
Forbes.
Even the Kitsune website itself. Nothing. I clicked open the loan PDF, original copy, time-stamped, notarized. Page 9, paragraph 4, subsection C. The co-borrower retains residual financial and collateral interest in all distributed and retained assets unless otherwise modified in writing. I hadn't modified anything. And Mila couldn't have without me. She didn't just ghost me. She tried to erase me. I picked up my phone. Called her. Straight to voicemail. I texted, "Hey." Saw the article. "Call me." Unread. Then WhatsApp. "Congratulations. Just wanted to check in." Still nothing. My jaw tightened. I wasn't angry yet, not really. I was confused. Hopeful. Stupid. I checked her Instagram. Champagne with her CTO. Rooftop shots with a caption, "From garage to Series B, self-made always wins." I wasn't in any of them, but I remembered taking one of those photos. I'd held the damn phone. That weekend, I ran into our old college mentor at Whole Foods. He patted me on the shoulder and beamed. "You must be so proud of Mila. She told me she did it all without any help. Grit and grit alone." I nodded and smiled, but inside, something cracked. Back home, I walked to the kitchen and stared into the microwave, letting my reflection blur. I whispered out loud, not even realizing it until it was said. "You deleted me from the story, Mila, but I still exist in ink." That night, I sat on the living room floor, documents spread around me like silent witnesses. Coffee gone cold. The silence heavy. Unia wandered in, rubbing her eyes, asking for water. Then she pointed at the stack beside me. Why do people only talk about Aunt Mila when you help too? I didn't answer immediately. How could I explain betrayal to a 10-year-old? Instead, I tucked a curl behind her ear and whispered, "Sometimes people forget who helped them." She blinked, not fully understanding. But she would. One day, when she went back to bed, I clicked open my inbox. There it was, an old email from Mila's assistant, subject, "Quick signature, no pressure." I'd never signed it. That careless moment, busy making Unia's yogurt cup and prepping for payroll, might have saved everything. And in that moment, a new version of me stirred. Not the sister. Not the silent partner. The co-founder. I opened a new email, addressed it to Mila's entire legal and executive team, and typed with the calm of someone who had nothing left to prove. Subject: Formal notice of non-signature. Please consider this written notice of my explicit refusal to sign or acknowledge the attached document in any past, present, or future form. Respectfully, Everly Monroe. I hit send. Then I sat back and exhaled. Not relief, no. It was something colder, sharper.
Control.
The next morning, while clearing out junk mail, one subject line caught my eye. Kitsoon launch, exclusive RSVP invitation. No direct email. No text. Just a marketing blast. I hovered my mouse over the RSVP button. I wasn't on the guest list, but I made the guest list possible. So I clicked. You don't need to shout to burn a building. You just need the right spark. At 6:47 a.m., the world was quiet. Unia was still asleep, curled beneath a blanket printed with constellations. The coffee machine clicked to life, percolating slowly. The city outside was gray, not yet fully awake. I was seated at the dining table with a USB in one hand and a 24-page legal contract open on my laptop. And there it was, highlighted in pale blue. Signature pending. The silence felt ceremonial. I scrolled back to the original email. Hey Everly, just a quick doc cleanup from Mila's team. Nothing major. You can sign whenever. No pressure if you're busy.
Ray. I remember that day.
I'd been slicing strawberries for Unia's yogurt cup, prepping for an 8:30 a.m. audit call, and juggling payroll adjustments for my firm. I saw the subject line and told myself I'd get to it later. I never did. And now, that inaction had become my salvation. I opened my notes, started compiling every document from our early days, pitch decks, budget breakdowns, pre-seed models. Each file still bore my original author tag. I could see the timestamps, the edits, the fingerprints no PR firm could bleach away. While digging through backups, I opened a folder titled seedround_March and found a video file, me whiteboarding conversion flows while Mila held the phone. My voice in the background, confident, real. I froze the frame where I wrote Kitsoon in capital letters. My handwriting. My moment. I picked up my phone. Judy Calloway answered on the second ring.
Talk, she said.
How fast can you get to Austin? I asked. She didn't even pause. If this is what I think it is, I'm already on the road. By noon, she was in my apartment, trench coat still damp from Texas drizzle. She set down her laptop, removed her glasses, and asked for tea. As we worked, I could see her lawyer instincts shift into combat mode. Judy flipped through the unsigned file and raised one brow. She banked on your trust. She lost the bet, I said. She peered at a paragraph Mila's legal team had buried between boilerplate clauses. This line here, non-claimant status, if you'd signed, you'd have forfeited all IP-related interests. She tapped again. And this? Future rights waived upon digital signature? That's not just sneaky. It's engineered denial. I didn't blink. And she sent it on a morning she knew I was doing payroll and packing Unia's lunch. Judy gave a low whistle. She gambled on chaos. Thought you'd miss the fine print. We're about to teach her what happens when a CFO actually reads the footnotes. We spent the next 3 hours in silence, only interrupted by tea refills and Judy's soft muttering. She labeled folders, added bookmarks, embedded document metadata. Her typing was surgical. At one point, she pulled out an old flash drive from her briefcase, slid it toward me, and said, "This contains your full financial modeling logic from Series A, signed, time-stamped, traceable. Use it when they deny you built the foundation." Unia came home just as we were reviewing signature histories. She peeked in and said, "Mom, what's all that paper?" I told her we were fixing something broken. She nodded solemnly, like when I glued my science project wrong. She went to her room and returned with her latest art poster. "This is my new one," she said, proudly holding up a sheet that read, "Women I Admire, Michelle Obama, my mom." Judy looked up and whispered, "That goes in the evidence pile." I smiled, but inside I felt steel forming. I drafted the email carefully, every word measured like a scalpel. Subject: Formal notice of non-signature. Please consider this written confirmation of my explicit refusal to sign or acknowledge the attached document in any past, present, or future form. Respectfully, Everly Monroe. Judy leaned over, scanned the addressees. Include Ray. Include Mila. Hell, CC her PR manager. Let it sting. I added them all. And for good measure, I attached a screenshot of the pending signature field and circled it in red.
Click. Sent. It was quiet after that.
But not the same kind of quiet as the morning. This silence was loaded, like the pause before thunder. The light outside was shifting, golden hour pouring into the room like truth. Judy stood and stretched. "That email didn't just protect you," she said. "It invalidated every silence they used against you." Later that evening, I cleared out unopened mail while Unia prepared her backpack. Among the credit card offers and donation requests sat one envelope from Kitsune HQ. I tore it open. It was a flyer. Kitsune launch, exclusive RSVP. No personal message. No name. Just a mass invite with Mila's face front and center. Beneath her airbrush smile were the words, "From nothing to everything. Alone." My thumb hovered over the RSVP button. I wasn't on the guest list, but I built the damn room. I clicked. Have you ever watched someone rewrite your story and leave your name out on purpose? That kind of pain isn't just betrayal. It's erasure. If you've ever felt invisible in something you helped build, drop a 7 in the comments. Now, let's see what she did next. Funny how they forget your name until it's echoing in their inboxes. The Barton Lux Hotel looked like it had been carved out of glass and money. Its rooftop ballroom glittered with chandeliers that spun like frozen hurricanes. Inside, everything was curated, down to the fonts on the name badges and the height of the rose arrangements. My badge didn't have a name. I wasn't supposed to be there, but I was. I stood near the back wall, half-shadowed behind a column of LED-lit branding. People in white blazers and expensive smiles moved like a choreographed ballet, glasses of champagne tilting with rehearsed elegance. A soft, synth-heavy track throbbed under the ambient chatter, upbeat but soulless, just like the PR quotes Mila had been feeding to TechCrunch. The stage lights dimmed. A spotlight snapped on. Mila took the stage. And just like that, I disappeared again. "Thank you for being here," she said, her voice a polished echo. Kitsune isn't just a product. It's my dream, built from scratch, powered by late nights and vision. I tilted my head. So this was her version. Slide after slide flickered behind her. User growth projections, burn rate forecasts, revenue acceleration, all in neat fonts and calming gradients. I recognized every number, every chart. They were mine. She'd just changed the colors. Mila kept going. We scaled 300% last quarter. And none of this would have been possible without our engineering lead, Mason Fexley. A spotlight hit the table where Mason sat, raising a glass. I remembered onboarding him. I wrote the original documentation that got him up to speed. Mila once called me at midnight, frantic, asking me to stay on Zoom and help him understand the tech stack. That night, I'd missed Unia's first school recital. But here I was. Not in the credits. Not in the room. Not even in the story. When the lights came up, the applause was thunderous. People rushed to Mila, investors, influencers, team members. A guy in a silver blazer handed her a mic for the Q&A. 2 interns, barely 20, held up ring lights for her photos. One even bumped into me, without noticing. I wandered to the bar. A woman in a velvet pantsuit was scrolling through her phone beside me. "You worked with Mila, didn't you?" she asked casually. I didn't flinch. "She worked with me." Her brow lifted slightly. "Interesting. Mean Raoul. Threshold capital." I shook her hand. Firm. The kind of shake that lets the other person know you're not a footnote. Her eyes narrowed, intrigued. "You staying for the Q&A?" "No," I said, sipping my drink. "I've heard this story before." She smiled faintly. "Ever think about telling your own?" Before leaving, I reached into my purse, slid out one of my new cards, and offered it. The back held a simple QR code. Scanning it led to a Dropbox folder titled Foundation. Inside, the original pitch decks, financials, version history, author tags. Metadata didn't lie. She tucked the card into her coat pocket without a word. As I turned to go, I passed a group of junior team members whispering. One pointed to a slide still frozen on the corner screen. "That's odd," he murmured. "This layout looks like the draft I saw months ago from someone else." "Sure," the other one hissed. "Don't get involved." The echo of that sentence stayed with me all the way to the lobby. That's when my phone vibrated. One new email. Subject: "You need to see this." From Bryce Mendez. I stepped into a quiet alcove, away from the valet crowd. The jazz trio playing in the atrium faded as I opened the message. Everly, our activated a Cayman account. 1.2 M wired post series A without board consent. Screenshots attached. We never approved the trust structure. I'm being watched. I can't risk sending more. But I'll tell you where the rest is. 3 files attached, a ledger PDF, a transaction screenshot, and a line of text that stopped my breath. Locker 414. Code is your birthday. My pulse roared in my ears. This wasn't just reputation laundering anymore. It was criminal exposure. I looked back through the glass doors. Mila was laughing beside her COO, hair perfect, posture regal. A waiter handed her a flute of champagne. She posed, backlit by spotlights, haloed by applause. Meanwhile, I stood outside the room. Again. Except this time, I wasn't the ghost. I was the storm. At home that night, after Unia fell asleep, I found a drawing tucked into her backpack. It was for a school project, Famous Women in Technology. She glued 3 faces to it, one of Michelle Obama, one of Sally Ride, and a grainy photo of me from an old awards night. Underneath, she had written, "My mom built something real. They just forgot to say so." I placed the drawing beside my laptop and opened the Dropbox folder again. One file blinked at me, newly added from Neen's team. Kitsune_finance_final_V2. I didn't open it. Not yet. She didn't just cut me out. She rewrote the rules mid-game. The legal office Judy rented was nothing like Mila's open concept showpiece. No reclaimed wood or abstract art here. Just beige carpet, overworked printers, and a box fan rattling near the window. But it smelled like logic, ink and toner, strategy. And I needed that more than mood lighting. Judy was already waiting when I arrived, sleeves rolled, highlighters uncapped, 3 cups of stale coffee in rotation. She motioned toward a stack of printed contracts. "You brought the old versions?" she asked. I handed her the thick folder from my tote. Unmodified.
Signed.
Time-stamped. She slid on her glasses and began flipping. Then she stopped. This clause wasn't here before. I leaned over. The paragraph was embedded near the end of page 6, under a heading that looked like a throwaway. Updated mutual agreements. Sole operational liability shall rest with the founding entity unless altered by mutual signature. My breath hitched. That line changes everything. Judy's lips pressed tight. She reached into her drawer, pulled out the original copy, one she had scanned and time-stamped herself 6 months ago. No clause. Just white space. She added it, Judy said, after the execution window. She doctored a legal agreement. Digitally amended, printed clean, and re-uploaded. Quiet fraud. I sat back. My chest felt tight, not with fear, but the bitter heat of recognition. Mila didn't just erase me from memory. She tried to erase me from the structure itself. This was a scalpel move. Not personal. Calculated. The printer hummed behind us as Judy ran a digital diff scan between versions. The fluorescent lights buzzed. Outside, someone's car alarm bleated twice. A dull, mundane world wrapped around a moment that split mine in two. For edits. 2 insertions. 1 deletion. All unlogged. Judy stood and crossed her arms. We're not in civil waters anymore. This is criminal exposure. I finished for her. I didn't feel overwhelmed. I felt sharpened. We broke the silence like you break glass. Deliberately. We send a letter, Judy said. Not to Mila. To the board, I replied. And to the IRS. And the SEC. Just to see who sweats. She opened her laptop and began structuring the letter. I walked to the printer, pulling the old version and the new, side by side. I circled every discrepancy in red. With each mark, I felt myself reclaiming territory, not just legal but mental. Then came the line, the one I added by hand, in ink. You have 7 days to correct the record. Or I will. Judy didn't comment, but she smiled, brief and dangerous. We emailed it. We printed it. We sent physical copies with tracking numbers and return receipts. 1 copy went directly to Kitsune HQ, attention to every board member by name. It felt like launching a warhead and watching it trail flame. Later that night, while reheating leftover pasta for Unia, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I let it ring. It stopped. Then a single text. You should have stayed quiet. This won't end well for you. No name. No punctuation. Just venom. I stared at the screen. My hand didn't shake. I simply took a screenshot and forwarded it to Judy. She responded in under 2 minutes. Meet me at 9 a.m. Bring Unia. We're escalating. By morning, we had a security protocol drafted. Judy called a PI she trusted from a corporate espionage case 2 years ago. I signed a protective filing. This wasn't paranoia anymore. It was standard procedure for people with something real to lose. I never thought it'd get this serious, I said quietly. Judy looked over her glasses. You're going after someone who thinks she's the story. And you're rewriting it. That afternoon, while checking Unia's school bag, I found a flyer folded inside her folder. Women in Tech, Austin Conference. Mila's face beamed from it, posed in my blazer, beside a tagline that read, From nothing to industry icon. The edges of the flyer were wrinkled. Unia had scribbled around Mila's face with a pink highlighter. She'd drawn a starburst above the words nothing, and underneath, in crooked handwriting, she wrote, "But not really nothing." My mom helped. I didn't cry. I wasn't angry. I folded the flyer back up and slid it into my drawer. Back at Judy's office, she handed me a final copy of the packet. Mail confirmed. Delivery signed. Certified timestamps. She watched me closely. "You don't have to say anything." I didn't. But I signed the cover sheet anyway. Let the ink speak. She thought the paper trail ended with a signature. I found the rest in a rusted locker. The industrial park sat just off Highway 183, flanked by a pawn shop and a half-collapsed billboard for accident lawyers. The fluorescent sign outside the storage facility flickered like a dying eye. I pulled into the lot just after sunset. Locker 414. Code, my birthday, for digits that now felt like coordinates to something buried. The padlock was stiff from rust. I twisted, forced it. A hollow click echoed like a verdict. As I lifted the metal door, the smell hit me first. Old paper, industrial dust, cold steel. The kind of smell that clings to truth long hidden. Inside, wrapped in a faded moving blanket and tucked into a cracked leather briefcase, were documents. Dozens of them. Ledgers. Wire receipts. A manila envelope labeled in Bryce's handwriting. "Do not forget who this belongs to." I crouched, heart thudding. The light above flickered, bathing the locker in pulses of sterile blue. Inside the envelope, screenshot of a Bryce trust account in Mila's name. Wire transfer, $1.2 million routed quietly 2 days post-Series B. A file, Kitsune_amendments_final_V2, docs. This wasn't a misstep. It was an erasure. Planned. Executed. The file didn't just revise. It removed. My name, my clauses, my structuring language, all gone. Rewritten. Mila listed as sole operator and final signatory. No trace of co-authorship. No mention of debt, of collateral, of me. I sat on the concrete floor, file in hand, phone lighting up my lap. My name, absent in ink, but ever-present in structure. I took photos. Backed up to encrypted cloud. Uploaded to secure drives Judy had created after the first threat. Every image was labeled with military precision. That night at Judy's office, the air was different. Heavier. She scanned every page. Her lips thinned as she flipped. "She didn't just move money," Judy muttered. "She moved your existence." I handed her Bryce's note. Her hand hesitated. "You okay?" "I'm not here to be okay," I said quietly. "I'm here to finish." For the next 3 hours, we built the counterattack. Redacted versions for legal protection. Annotated exhibits for press. Full forensic index of metadata, showing file creation, authorship tags, IP addresses logged during edits. Judy paused at one point and leaned back. "You realize this? This isn't just reputation damage. If this hits public, her IPO is radioactive." "I'm counting on it." That night, I emailed 2 journalists, Grace from Bloomberg, Eli from Forbes. I attached everything. No commentary, just the truth. An hour later, Grace replied, "If this is real, and it looks airtight, we go live within 36 hours. Are you sure?" I typed slowly. "I'm not looking for revenge. Just correction." I clicked send. Have you ever realized that the only way to protect yourself is to stop being quiet? That moment where you stop being nice and start being heard. If you've ever taken back your power after being ignored, drop a 9 in the comments. Now let's see how the truth began to roar. The next morning I woke to my name. Not in my inbox. On Twitter. On Reddit. In investor forums. Hashtag Who is Everly. Hashtag The Real Founder. Hashtag Kitsune Leaked. Someone had posted the Dropbox archive, early Kitsune pitch decks with my metadata embedded. Slide properties showing created by Everly Monroe. Version history marked with my initials. Red circles. Proof. Under one post was a zoom in of my signature from the series Alone. Beside it, someone had written, "Funny how ghosts leave ink." Screenshots of Mila's public bios were being compared with legal filings. Redditus found a mismatch between her bootstrapped narrative and the bank records Bryce had exposed. Then came the TikToks. Voiceovers breaking down the scam. One creator held up two photos, Mila on stage, and a cropped image of a whiteboard with my handwriting from an old investor lunch photo. Judy arrived at my place before noon, out of breath. She just canceled her Tech Women keynote, pulled her entire speaker tour. Then she dropped a printed email on the table. We categorically deny all claims. Our founder acted independently and transparently. Any assertion to the contrary is unsubstantiated and distracting. Distracting, I muttered. They still think this is noise. It's not, Judy said. It's signal. Investor Slack channels were locked down. I got a message from a former Kitsune engineer. We always wondered where the strategy came from. Glad it's public now. Unia wandered in holding a drawing. Me, standing in front of people, a speech bubble above my head. Truth speaker. She looked at me and said, "You looked loud." I smiled and kissed her forehead. I was. The sun was just beginning to climb over the Austin skyline when I stepped out of the Uber and onto the curb in front of Kitsune's headquarters. My heels clicked against the marble as I passed through the revolving doors. Not like a guest, but like a reckoning. Judy was already there, standing by a polished column in a charcoal suit. She nodded once, briefcase in hand, her eyes locked in. "Ready?" she asked. I didn't answer. We both knew. The receptionist didn't ask for names. She just waved us through. The elevator hummed its way up 16 floors to the executive suite. Behind those doors, a boardroom built for dominance. Oval table like a chessboard. Chairs like thrones. Walls lined with awards that bore Mila's name, some of which I had helped earn. Inside, the air was dense. No one was talking. Just sidelong glances, throat clearing, paper shuffling. Every investor was present. Half were on video screens. And at the far end sat Mila. Red blazer. Silk blouse. Posture immaculate. But her hands were folded a little too tight. The chair cleared his throat. "Miss Monroe, your floor." I stood. No preamble. "I'll begin with the co-loan agreement," I said, sliding a folder across the table. "Signed by myself and Mila Halston, establishing joint liability, and by legal precedent, joint control." Next came the investor decks. I passed them down, each bearing metadata with my name as creator, version dates that predated Mila's revisions. The projections, segmentation, strategy, all authored by me, I said evenly. Note the embedded timestamps. Judy followed, handing out a forensic timeline. Email confirmations. Edits. IP logs. Wire receipts. And then the trust account. This $1.2 million transfer to Bryce was made days before the series be closed. I added, sliding over a highlighted statement. Undisclosed. Unauthorized. There was a sharp inhale from someone on the left. No words, just impact. Mila stood. "She's twisting everything," she said, voice tight. "I built this. I pitched. I raised." "Yuri wrote," I replied, after the signatures. "She's bitter," Mila said, pointing now. She walked away. She didn't have the stomach for it. Correction, Judy interjected calmly. She walked out of the spotlight. Not the structure. Silence. Not because no one had words. Because none of theirs could hold weight against the documents in front of them. The chair cleared his throat again. Effective immediately, Mila Halston will step down as CEO of Kitsune. Everly Monroe's ownership stake will be reinstated, recognized in all filings, and acknowledged in press materials. The IPO is postponed pending a full audit. Mila didn't sit back down. She just stood there. And I didn't celebrate. I just breathed. An hour later, the Kitsune homepage was updated. I watched the new founder bio go live. My name, finally there. No fanfare. No spotlight. Just fact. Outside, Judy and I exited through the front lobby. Press had gathered by the curb. A reporter stepped forward, mic extended. "Miss Monroe," he said, "if you could speak to your younger self watching all this happen, what would you tell her?" I paused. Not for effect, but because it was the first time I allowed myself to reflect. I looked directly into the camera. "Next time someone asks you to sign," I said, "ask them who's signing for you." Then I walked past the flashing bulbs. I had nothing more to prove. 3 months later, Kitsune was still under audit. Mila had disappeared from every conference lineup. The SEC opened a formal inquiry. No criminal charges yet, but the whispers were growing. As for me, I wasn't chasing stage lights anymore. I was chasing peace. On Saturday mornings, Unia and I walked to a quiet park 4 blocks from our apartment. There was a pond, a bench, nothing fancy, just quiet. That morning, she ran toward me, a glittery poster board in hand. "Look what I made for school." The title read, "Women I Admire." And under Michelle Obama's photo was a grainy print of me from an old hedge fund event. I looked stiff, awkward, but real. I didn't cry. Not out of sadness. Out of clarity. That night, I received a voicemail from my parents. My father's voice was tentative. "We saw the news. We're proud of how you handled everything." Mila, she made mistakes. No apology. Just pride, dressed in ambiguity. I didn't call back. Some silences are worth preserving. Later, as the wind pressed softly against our windows and Unia fell asleep beside me, I opened my laptop. One new message. Subject: "I hope one day you'll forgive me." From Mila Halston. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. Instead, I whispered aloud, just loud enough for the walls to hear. "I already did, but I won't forget." In the end, I didn't just reclaim my name, I reclaimed a peace they never thought I'd have again. I don't need the stage lights or the applause. The truth is where it belongs now, and I finally get to live as myself. That's more than enough. What I've learned is this: when you dare to stand up for your worth, the people who thrived on your silence will have to face the voice they can no longer erase. Karma doesn't arrive late. It arrives exactly when it's meant to, and with it comes the undeniable power of evidence and integrity. How about you? Have you ever been overlooked, erased, or silenced in a story you helped build? Share your story or thoughts in the comments, because your voice might be the next spark someone else needs to reclaim their own. And if stories of justice, truth, and reclamation speak to you, hit subscribe. The next story might be yours or meant for you.